Hi all, this video will help you to find the Z transform of finite duration sequences. Here we are going to find the Z transform of right-sided sequence, left-sided sequence and double-sided sequence along with its ROC, region of convergence. First we will find the Z transform of right-sided sequence. The given problem is find the Z transform of x of n where x of n is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4. Here x of n takes the value only for n is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, which is nothing but the right side of the vertical axis. That's why we are calling this as a right-sided sequence. So first we will write the formula. Here the formula is x of z equal to summation n is equal to minus infinity to plus infinity x of n z power minus n. Here in the common formula n takes the value minus infinity to plus infinity. If you change the limits of n for this problem, here the starting value of n is equal to 0. Since there is no arrow mark mentioned or dash mentioned, we will consider the starting value belongs to n is equal to 0, followed by the value for n is equal to 1, n is equal to 2 and n is equal to 3. And the useful range of n is nothing but 0 to 3, because for other values of n, x of n takes the value equal to 0. So we will consider only this range n is equal to 0 to 3 and we will apply the formula. And substituting the values of n, this equation becomes x of 0 z power 0 plus x of 1 z power minus 1 plus x of 2 z power minus 2 plus x of 3 z power minus 3. Here we know the values of x of 0, 1, 2, 3, x of 1, x of 2 and x of 3. Just substitute that value, then you will get 1 into z power 0 plus 2 into z power minus 1 plus 3 into z power minus 2 plus 4 into z power minus 3. Then the final version of x of z is nothing but x of z equal to, here z power 0 is 1, so this can be simplified as 1 plus 2 z inverse plus 3 z power minus 2 plus 4 z power minus 3. Here the important part of the z transform is we have to define the region of convergence, shortly called as ROC. Here ROC is nothing but the values of z for which x of z converges, that is x of z taking finite value only for a particular z values. So in this case we are having a z inverse term, so z inverse term is nothing but 1 by z. Here this z inverse term becomes infinity if z is equal to 0. For all other values of z, this z inverse will take some finite value. So only for z is equal to 0, it will take infinite value. Z is equal to 0, then the value of z inverse will be infinity. So we can define the region of convergence for this x of z as entire the value of entire z plane except z is equal to 0. So this is the ROC for the given problem. Now we are going to see the z transform of left-sided sequence. The given problem is find the z transform of x of n which is equal to 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Here there is a arrow mark mentioned. That arrow mark is mentioned on the value 0. So whenever the arrow mark or dash symbol mentioned, then that particular value belongs to n is equal to 0. If you are having a value right side of that arrow, then it belongs to n is equal to 1. If you are having a value left side of that arrow, then it belongs to n is equal to minus 1. So here all the values are left side of the axis, so that's why we are calling this as a left sided sequence. And we will first write the formula for x of z. X of z is nothing but z transform of x of n. So z transform of x of n is equal to x of z, which is equal to summation n is equal to minus infinity to plus infinity x of n z power minus n. So here we need to replace the range of n. For this problem, here this point is nothing but n is equal to 0, here n is equal to minus 1, n is equal to minus 2, n is equal to minus 3, and n is equal to minus 4. These are the values of n. So here the limit changes from n is equal to minus 4, this is the lower limit, to n is equal to 0. You can consider minus 1 also. Okay, and x of n z power minus n. So if you substitute the values of n, then this becomes x of minus 4 z power 4. Here the minus sign in the power and the minus sign in the n value will be multiplied together, and it will be a positive sign, plus x of minus 3 into z cube plus x of minus 2 into z square plus x of minus 1 into z plus x of 0. In this case, x of minus 4 is nothing but 4. So the value is equal to 4z power 4 plus 3z cube plus 2z square plus 1 into z is nothing but z, and the value of x of 0 equal to 0. So this is the value of x of z. Then the next part is we have to define the region of convergence for the given problem or for the given x of z. Here the ROC is defined as entire z plane except z is equal to infinity. Why? Because this value will be, the value of x of z will have a finite value except the value of z is equal to infinity. If z is equal to infinity alone, the value of x of z will be infinity. For all other values, whether it is z is equal to 0 or any positive number or negative number, the x of z will take a finite value, that is x of z will converge for all other values of z except z is equal to infinity. The last topic of this video is to find the z transform of double-sided sequence. So here we have to find the z transform of x of n, which is a double-sided sequence where x of n is equal to 1 to 1 comma 1 comma 2 comma 3. Here the arrow mark is mentioned under 1. So the right side to the arrow mark is the values of n is equal to 1 and 2, and the left side of the arrow mark indicates it is the value of x of n for n is equal to minus 1, minus 2, n is equal to minus 3. So it is consisting of both right side values and left side values. That's why we are calling this as a double-sided sequence. And we will find how to find the z transform. So first we will write the formula. Z transform of x of n, which is equal to x of z and that is equal to summation n is equal to minus infinity to plus infinity x of n z power minus n. As you know, the arrow indicates the value of n is equal to 0 at this point. So right side to that arrow denotes n is equal to 1 and n is equal to 2. Left side of the arrow denotes n is equal to minus 1, minus 2 and minus 3 respectively. So the useful limits of n is nothing but n is equal to minus 3 to plus 2 for this case, and this is the modified version of the Z transform formula for this problem. So if you expand this, then you will get x of minus 3 Z cube. I am just substituting the values of n in this equation, plus x of minus 2 Z square plus x of minus 1 Z plus x of 0 Z power 0 plus x of 1 Z power minus 1 plus x of 2 Z power minus 2. We know the values of x of minus 3, minus 2 and so on. I am just replacing the value. So this becomes 1 into z cube plus 2 into z square plus 1 into z plus 1 into z power 0 equal to 1. So I am just replacing with 1 plus x of 1 is 2. So 2 into z power minus 1 plus 3 into z power minus 2. So after multiplication it will become z cube plus 2z square plus z plus 1 plus 2z inverse plus 3z power minus 2. So this is the z transform of x of n, which is nothing but x of z. And the final part is we have to define the ROC. If you refer this equation, then you can find two terms. One is z and another one is z inverse. So z becomes infinity. Z becomes infinity if z takes the value infinity. Z inverse become infinity if z takes the value equal to 0. So for all other values of z, this both z and z inverse will provide some finite value. So the ROC for this problem is defined as entire z plane except z is equal to 0 and z is equal to infinity. Except these two values of z, that is z is equal to 0 and z is equal to infinity, for all other values x of z will converge, that is it will take some finite value. I hope this video will help you to find the z transform of right sided sequence, left sided sequence and double sided sequence along with its ROC. Thank you all.